I was thinking about this meeting, what to do, what to say, and I thought about Bible. I thought that I should check some verses in the Bible, what we should talk. But then one verse came to my mind, and that was John 3:16. And if all the Bibles would be destroyed, but this one verse would still be on, that would be the full gospel, and people could be saved listening, hearing this one verse. And I thought that we would have more languages here, but I would like to hear this verse in different languages. And I would like to hear Elena. And with Makato, Linda, Damaris, and Helen is there. So line up in there whom I said. Elena.
Yes.
Come behind the veil.
Okay, so in Italian says, poiché Dio ha tanto amato il mondo che ha dato il suo unigenito figlio, affinché chiunque crede in lui non perisca ma abbia vita eterna.
And Linda, now we hear in Ukrainian.
Бог так полюбив світ, що віддав свого єдинородного сина, що кожен, що вірить в нього, не забуває, але мав життя вічне.
And German.
Says, also hat Gott die Welt geliebt, dass es seinen eingeborenen Sohn gab, auf, dass alle, die an ihn glauben, nicht verloren werden, sondern das ewige Leben haben.
And Finnish.
French.
French.
Car Dieu a tant aimé le monde qu'il a donné son Fils unique, afin que quiconque croit en lui ne périsse point, mais qu'il ait la vie éternelle.
Amen. And Finnish. Niin on Jumala maailmaa rakastanut, että hän antoi ainokaisen poikansa, että kuka ikinä uskoo häneen, saisi iankaikkisen elämän.
Porque de tal manera amó Dios al mundo que ha dado su Hijo unigénito para que todo aquel que en él cree no se pierda, mas tenga vida eterna.
사위세 내가 진실로 진실로 너에게 이르노니 종이 산조보다 크지 못하고 보냄은 바른 자가 보낸 자보다 크지 못하니.
Thank you.
神はその一人子を賜ったほどにこの世を愛してくださった。それは御子を信じる者が一人も滅びないで永遠の命を得るためである。
Right, thank you. So with different languages, this one verse can convert people. What I was surprised, you all read it from a phone. I was the only one who said it by heart. You should learn it by your own language. You may sometimes meet people and you can tell it. Now this is a verse what Jesus spoke. To whom? Whom did Jesus spoke these words? Nicodemus. Nicodemus. And who was Nicodemus? Elena, do you know who was Nicodemus? Who was Nicodemus whom Jesus spoke these words?
He was a ruler of the Jews.
Yeah. He was member of the Sanhedrin, very learned man, and one of the richest men in Jerusalem. Did he accept this verse to himself? What do you think, Lynn?
I think so.
Not right away.
Not right away, eventually.
But he did when Jesus was crucified, and he was there. And what happened to Nicodemus after? Did he live happily ever after with his money?
No.
Linda?
He gave his money to the church for
Right, thank you. So it is the white rights. He gave all his money to the new church. He was persecuted. He was hated. And he died poor but happy man. He was happy regardless what, even though he lost his money. So this is wonderful. We talk about missionary work a little bit. I want to tell you a few of my experiences. I was in a hospital, and there was a chance that I wouldn't come out of there. And I thought that so many things I never told anybody. And if I go back home, I would tell more of my experiences, which may help others. I have been asked to write my experiences down, but I'm not much of a writer, and they wanted to know. So I'm going to tell you a few experiences of my life in missionary work. And one thing I have not told here to anybody except when I was in Colorado.
It's too loud. Put it down. It's too loud.
Oh,
Shouting.
oh, that doesn't mean, okay.
Give me a headache.
Okay, too loud, Jesus. Good. When I was in Colorado, when I have just come to Canada, and we went to conference in United States, to the Union Conference, that's when I told this, but none of you were there. And Brother Dörsle was my translator. I was telling it in German, and he translated it to English. So it was an experience when I was still a teenager, 18 years old. And I was in Rhineland in Germany, River Rhine, and canvassing in one of the towns, cities. And I went to their house. That time in Germany, people were very friendly. You rang the bell, instead of talking at the door, they invited you in. So this time I went, rang bell, they invited me in, so I spoke my business, selling the books, and there was a man, a family man, a little bit older. He said, wait. He put his shoes on and his hat on and said, I'm coming with you. And we went from different houses, and he would ring the bell and tell the people, this girl or young lady, whatever he called, has something to say to you. And every place they bought a book or pamphlet, until my bag was empty. Then he said, go get more books. I said, oh, I have to take the train. It's I live in a different city. He said, well, go to train and come back to me, go home. So I went in the train, and it was about 15 minutes train ride. I went back to the place where I stayed. That was one of the pioneers, Carl Krahe, and his wife, old couple. I stayed with them and filled my bag again and went back to this man's house, rang the bell, and we went again. I have never sold so many books in one day as that time, while he was the one who did the main talking. And eventually he said we had to go. There was a house, a big white house with garden, iron fence gate to get in. So the gate was open and he said to me, "You should go there." I said, "I have been there." "Did they buy?" I said, "No, they didn't buy. Go back." I didn't want to go back. He said, "A Finnish girl is not afraid of anything. Go back." So I had to go back in there. I walked the garden path and looked if he was there. He would stand at the gate instead of leaving. If he would have left, I would have quickly turned and run away. But he didn't. He stood at the gate. So I went and rang the bell. They opened the door and said, "You here again? You were here already." I said, "Yes, but this man said I have to come." This man who is standing at the gate. "Who is he?" they said. I said, "Dr. Friedman." I knew his name by that time because so many people said, "Dr. Friedman, nice to see you." So they said, "Oh, Dr. Friedman, oh, well, what do you have there?" So I got sold to that place too. So that's some experience what I have never had before doing missionary work. When I went back home, next day I went to his street, wrote down the name of the street and the house number. And when I went back to Finland, I wrote to him and thanked him, and he answered me. So this is one of my experiences I have not really told anybody. And then another thing is, in a school, missionary school, we went canvassing. That was in a time, that too. And the missionary leader took us to the little city town, and we were canvassing all afternoon there. And when we came back, then we would tell our experiences. He would say what kind of experiences you made. And everybody was telling them. Then he said, "Did anybody go to the castle?" In German cities and towns, they often have a castle in the middle. And then the houses are around. That was in olden time when they had workers, and the castle was the one castle owner who owned all the land and thing. So I put my hand up. I went to the castle. So I told the story. I went and rang the bell. A butler came and opened the door and asked me in. And there was a very big staircase. It was an entrance hall, 2-3 stories high. Big staircase, we walked up. And second floor, he opened the door. And there was a lady sitting who was the owner or the host of the castle who lived there. So butler left me there, and I talked to the lady, my business. He looked at my books, and then we talked more. And he was telling that his husband, whom the castle belonged, died in a war, and now she was alone. And she thanked me for coming. She said she's often lonely. And she gave me a pack of candies. And when I was leaving, she got up, came and hugged me, and started crying around my neck. And thanked me that I'm so happy that you came, because I was lonely and thought about me. And I thought about that when I left and walked down the big staircase. She was standing on the balcony there waving to me. It's not only the poor, the unlearned whom we have to look after. We have to also find those who are rich, who are well known. Often they are very lonely, and they are happy when you talk to them and give them hope and about salvation and things. I was only 18, teenager at that time, but I never forget it. It was very interesting to me. And I think, so we must not think that that house is too big, I can't go there. We have to go regardless what they are. And then another thing, we was in Malaysia. No, Malaysia is in Asia, canvassing every day. Then we met an Adventist sister who lived in Thailand, and she invited us, Etta and me, to come and visit my home in Thailand. She lived in an Adventist place where was a school, and it was like a little town with street lights and paved roads, and it was all the one community of the Adventist. And then we said that, okay, we will come and visit you there. And we went, we had to take the train. We went to the train station. And while waiting for the train, I was walking, and I walked to the store where they sold the newspapers and things. And I looked at the newspaper, and it had a picture of me. And I thought that, what? I looked at it again. It was saying, the president greets the tourist. So I was shaking the hand of the president there in the first page of the newspaper. I have it somewhere at home, the paper. So that was interesting. We went to the Adventist colony, and in that sister's house, her husband was a doctor who taught anatomy and health in that college. And he invited students. There was a living room, and the living room was full of students. And I talked to them about Reformation, how Reformation happened, what happened. They were happy to hear. On Sabbath, we went for a walk, and when Sabbath closing came, the whole faculty were together. The students had their own Sabbath closing, but the teachers, the faculty, everything else came together. And 10 minutes before they came to me and said, we want you to keep the Sabbath closing. I had not prepared for that. And speak to that whole big group there. I said what to do. But they came, I couldn't say no. So I kept the Sabbath closing, talked to them maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, and they were happy to hear. And when we left the next day, they said, come back. The doors are always open for you. So this was interesting experience in Thailand. Thailand, we didn't have church. I don't know if we have it now, but that time we didn't have a church there yet. And then we went to Africa. Africa, I have lots of experiences because we went there about 15 years. And every country, every place have something new. And we went to Namibia. Namibia is a country on the side of South Africa, which used to belong to South Africa, but they became independent. We didn't have church there either. And we went to the capital city. And we went for a walk and saw a big church on a sort of hill, a little bit higher. And I said, it must be a Catholic church because it's so big. We went to the door and looked, and it said Seventh-day Adventist Church. So we said, then we have to go there the next day, although it was Sabbath. And we went. The church was full, maybe 500 people or so. And we were there. We were the only two with the white faces. So we listened, and all went well. In the end, they came and greeted us, and one invited us to his place for lunch. So we were taken by a white Cadillac to his place, which was very fantastic big house. I said, what do you do to get a house like that? He said, you own a computer company, then you can buy it. So we did. So there was a lunch ready, and 12 ministers, the leaders, was there eating with us. That time it came to my mind, what to say. We always say, when they ask, are you one of us? We say, yes, we are Adventists, but we are reformers. Never go like faking that we would belong to that church. We always say reformers. And there we were sitting and eating. And I remembered thinking, what should I say now to all these ministers? Came to my mind when I was in university. I took a course in psychology. And a professor told us, if you want to change liberal to conservative, don't put the liberals down. They say, you are such awful people and you did this and that wrong. Tell them, yeah, liberals, you did right in that. I understand you did this and that, but still, you did also this. And that makes them think. If you attack them, they will be right against you. But if you say something nice, they start thinking. So I thought about that. And I said, your service was good. I enjoyed it. And I was impressed with your sisters because they all had long sleeves and dressed like they should. Then one of the ministers said, if we are so good, why are not with us? I said, well, because one thing, you ordain women. It's not biblical. Men are the priest. Men are the head of the family. They should be too. And African men are sort of macho men, so they were very happy to hear that. They said, yeah, yes, it's those Americans who do those things. And then I said, then you go to war, we don't believe in that either. And we had a good talks together. When we left, we all stood around in a ring, and the head minister prayed. We held hands, and he prayed, and God blessed those two sisters when they are here. The two sisters came to there to try to find members, and he, the head minister, now prayed for us. So this was quite an experience. And we had, and then a week later you're going to leave. And before that, there was another minister, that's what it was, who said, I want you to come to my church. Come next Sabbath to my church. I said, we don't have cars and your church is 40 kilometers from here. I'll pick you up from your hotel. So, okay, fine. So he came and picked us up and took us to his church. So the service went all right, so we were there. And when the service was finished, he stood at the door greeting the people, and I stood beside him. Etta was somewhere behind. He's kind of shy, so he wouldn't push herself. So I greeted every member who had been in the church with the minister. The next Sabbath was our last Sabbath in there, so we went, and after Sabbath closing, and I said, where are the ministers? Oh, they have committee meeting, they cannot be disturbed. I said, where is the committee meeting? It's in there, in that room, in there. So I went there, opened the door, and all the men who were sitting there, they looked up, what is she doing here now, waiting? So I went and said, we are leaving in the morning, but we cannot go without saying goodbye to you, and thank you for your kindness and friendliness toward us. The head minister got up, came to me, gave me a big hug, and all the others followed. And then they said, you are always welcome. The doors are open for you. If you talk with them the right way, they accept you. But of course, what could we do? But we could tell them, and if they hear from somebody else later, then they can make up their mind, like Nicodemus, when he saw Jesus dying, that's when he accepted it. Now we have, I heard last week, that from Kenya, the Secretary of Kenya is going to go to Namibia and start the work there. So we never know what happens. So that was an interesting experience. We went to we went from there to Ivory Coast and went to the headquarters of SDA in Ivory Coast. We always go to the ministers, to the headmen. Sister White writes, we should not be like a fox who goes to somebody else's church and try to steal a member like fox gets a chicken. So I don't talk to the people, I go first to the ministers. And in Ivory Coast, we went to the headquarters and we said that we are from Reform. And he told his secretary, other people, go away from his office. And then he said, tell us about the Reform. So we did. And on Sabbath, we went to the Sabbath school and we would take part on a lesson and so on. And after he took us sightseeing and took us to the airport when we were leaving, and I gave them the Reformation study course, which was good. So today we have church in Ivory Coast. We have workers there. And I think Bruno, who is here, I think he was in Ivory Coast, who is our worker here in Calgary. So, and one day I went to Madagascar, and I was flying back from Madagascar and talking with a fellow beside me. And he gave me his card, and he was a member of the government of Kenya. And he said, next time you come to Kenya, come and visit me, and I take you around the government and introduce you to the people. Well, I didn't do that. But a year later, I was in Ethiopia, and I was standing on the line going to the plane. A man came to me and said, "Oh, nice to see you. Do you remember me?" I said, "No, I don't. I was sitting beside you when we flew from Madagascar to South Africa. And what are you doing?" This is interesting. It is like Brother Zolich here in this church told us, be careful what you do when you go out. If you go in a bus and so on, because a person who sits next to you could be in a church next Sabbath. So then he will wonder about your behavior. So I was happy that I talked to the man nicely because he remembered me still from that time. And in Liberia, we went there, we did quite a bit work with them. And they got a letter from General Conference where they wrote that there are 2 sisters, and be careful when those sisters come. They are only after your money. But they were not careful. They came and we talked and called Sirima, and he started the church there, took them in. I have the letter from General Conference somewhere at home where they wrote it, they gave it to me. So those are interesting things. It's missionary work is exciting. It's not just that you go to the door and the door slams in front of you. It depends a lot how you behave, where you go. Do you talk to the poor or to the rich or everybody? And everyone are different. You have to talk them differently. And you can do a good work. It doesn't matter if you're a minister or a member or old or young. If you have the right spirit, God will hear you and you can do help. I want to listen, Morris. You want to listen. James 4:17. It says, therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. We talk about sin is when you break the 10 Commandments. This is, if you know to do good that don't do is sin. What do you say to that?
Well, the Bible is true, so we'll have to find out how is it a transgression of the 10 Commandments and which one of the 10 Commandments we would transgress. So if we know to do good, it would be doing good towards somebody, right? And if we refrain from doing that good, that we deprive them of the benefits of that good deed that we would do, and of course that would be detrimental to them. So you could almost say this is a transgression of a commandment that says thou shalt not kill, because you will be causing injury to that person by refraining from doing what's good. So that's one way we could see that.
Right. And if you don't do, it's a sin. Sister White writes much, even a smile can make somebody happy. We have to help people, make them happy. Not just in missionary work, not everybody can go and sell books and preach, but they can walk on the street and greet people, say something nice, even in a store, to make them feel good. So, which commandment would you say this is? Yeah, I guess the last 6, how we behave toward our fellow people. So everybody can be a missionary if we help where we can help. And if we don't, if we are nasty, if we criticize, if we ignore, we break the commandment. So let us remember that. So we all can be missionaries if we do that.